Hey guys. So y'all know me. A lot of you probably also know that I've always been a person whose mindset revolved around my gift of imagination. It makes up a large portion of who I am and the entire rest of how I work. God gave it to me as a gift to be used for a lot of things, and I'm kind of discovering for the first time some of those things, what some of them are. And it turns out that one of them is that my imagination is a communication tool that my brain uses to talk to me. My therapist and I have been using that in a therapeutic technique called visualization to kind of like sit down with pieces of myself and like talk things out with the pieces of myself that aren't getting along well, that kind of thing. So we sat down at some point to talk to my fear. I struggle a lot with anxiety. So like I have a lot of fear to deal with, and one of the ways in which my fear and my imagination interact is that I tend to see really horrible, hard to deal with things in my head when I'm afraid. So we sat down to use this technique to talk to my fear and see if we could make peace. And you're supposed to visualize a neutral space to talk to a manifestation of what you're trying to talk to. But I couldn't do it that one time because the fear that I was trying to visualize wouldn't leave my body to go into the neutral space. Like it flat out refused. So my therapist said, that's okay. Just leave it there and see if you can see it there. So I did. It was hard work, but I managed it. And I finally could see a visualization of my fear in my body as this inky little blob. And as soon as I could see it, it went eep and hid behind one of my organs in my head visually. I'm not crazy, and if I am, my therapist knows it, so don't worry about it. And I flinched physically because I felt like I had this parasite inside of me, this little fear blob that was hiding amongst my internal organs. And I told my therapist so, and she said to welcome it, to give it permission to be there, to invite it to be welcome in this space, which was the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. But I trust my therapist, so I did. I invited this little black fear blob parasite thing to be welcome in my body. And as I did, in my head, this visualization, that little fear blob grew and grew and grew and filled all of the empty spaces throughout my entire body. And I saw myself as this person with this head to toe, every inch of me, silhouette of this inky black fear, walking along a path that had rocks strewn about and boulders in various places. And I realized that this inky black silhouette of fear was working to catalog those rocks will be difficult to go over. We should go around them. Which boulders could potentially be hiding a threat, what we can do to minimize said threat. We can go this way instead. We can do this to give ourselves maximum advantage should something actually be hiding behind that boulder, things like that. And I realized that my fear is actively mapping out threats and calculating the best, safest route around them or through them. And that is when I got it. That is when I understood that my fear was not put here to torment me, and that's why I won't leave. My fear is here as a tool that is absolutely 100% dedicated to keeping me alive and keeping me safe. My fear isn't a monster eating me from the inside like it sometimes feels. My fear is actually a monster that is prepared to devour any threat to me, that is completely on my side and completely one of the tools that God gave me to navigate my life and to make decisions that will help me prosper and keep me safe. So since then, I have been able to talk to my fear when it gets overwhelming. I can sit down and say, hey, I know that you're here to keep me safe. What are you trying to tell me? And my fear will open up and say, well, we're worried about this, this, and this threat. And I can be like, okay, what are some things we can do to minimize that? And I can work with my fear. I'm not great at it yet. It's a new skill that I'm developing, but I can work with my fear because I understand now that my fear is not just my friend, but my protector. It's a shield. It's an instinct. It's discernment. I think that in our fear of the Lord verse that we've been working with, I think it's absolutely linguistically correct to say that fear is better translated as reverence. But even the fear that we are asking ourselves this question because we can't fathom the idea of being afraid of God, because that doesn't sound like a loving God to us. And I think that's totally the right call. But even the fear that we are trying to get away from is a gift from God to protect us and to help us discern which paths we should take and which paths we shouldn't take. And even when it feels like our fear is preventing us from moving forward, it's not. Actually, it's saying, hey, can we talk about this first? And I'm discovering that the response that allows me to move forward is, yes, my dear fear. Yes, thank you for being there for me. Let's talk about this. And then I can move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, amen.